Greetings, it's Fred in Alaska. Thanks for joining me. What I wanted to share with you today, it comes from Carla, and she's from a village on the Yukon River. Okay, she didn't want it, spotlight put on it or whatever. But this comes from 10 years ago. Now, at the time, she had her daughters. She had three daughters at the time. Still does, but at the time they were 9, 7, and 5. She had just got done helping process fish at a relative's house, and the kids were tired. It was towards the end of the day. It was getting on into where it just starts to get darker, because Land of the Midnight Sun is kind of hard to put in the context unless you've lived it and seen it yourself. It's daylight out, but yet it's dark in the woods, right? So this particular trail back to her house, it wasn't all that long. It was less than a mile. She had to go up the bank and cut away from the river and kind of follow this trail. And it was a mixed bag, tall grass initially, and then into the black spruce, and then you get some of the hardwoods and stuff. So it was fairly dense. The undergrowth was in full bloom. Visibility was crap. Well, according to what she was saying, on the right-hand side as you're going down this path, which it ebbs and flows as far as, it's not just a flat path. You go uphill sometimes and then downhill, and you kind of got to go around some feeder creeks and whatnot. So, it's diverse as far as the terrain. And she said they were about a third of the way into it, and her daughters are tired. They're arguing amongst each other, and the littlest one, who was 5 at the time, is mumbling something, and it catches her attention. She's like, "What are you saying?" And she said, "That man is ugly. That man is ugly, keeps smiling at us. Tell him to go away." And she's like, "Well, what do you mean? What man?" She's looking around, Now, let me preface this, but she was armed. She had a shotgun. She had run-ins with bears before, and she wasn't playing any games whatsoever when it came to the safety of her kids. Mama bear, just you don't want to mess with Mama bear with a shotgun. She'll shoot your ass. You don't play. So she asked her to tell me what you're talking about, because she put her on the spot. Like, I need to know, where's this man? And she points off into the trees. She sees nothing. It's dense as hell. There's nothing to be seen according to what she was thinking. And she goes, "Well, you need to quit. You need to quit slowing us down. I let you lead. You said you were going to lead us on the trail. So you either lead or let one of your sisters take over." And of course, the little girl was like, I'm going to lead. So yes, giving them a sense of direction and purpose, so the kid will focus on leading and, be less likely to be grumpy. They'll take, ownership of the little trip or whatever, So off they go again. And as they were going along, she said she noticed that the woods were eerily creepy when normally she would be hearing songbirds, whatever they may be. And she wasn't hearing anything. So, of course, she unslung the rifle and kind of got it in a better position. Instead of slung over the shoulder, she kind of had it hanging in front of her, so she had quick access to it. As she was going along, she said she was listening, and she was hearing something off to their right. And she said what she was hearing wasn't making sense, because she was hearing bipedal footsteps. Now, she said they got to a certain point where one of the feeder creeks, the girls were jumping back and forth giggling. And so she was giving them time to just get some more of that energy out, because she knew as soon as they got home, got a little something on the belly, boom, they were out for the night, right? So, she's just laughing and giggling along with them. And she gets up right near where they're playing, and it's not very deep at all. It's about 3 foot wide and like maybe 3 inches deep, just nothing. But the girls are splashing and going back and forth and saying, "I wonder if there's fish in here," and this and that. And she happens to look up this creek, and she notices a dark figure cross the creek above them. She wasn't quite sure. She said it could have been 50 to 70 feet-ish, but it was obscured by the brush hanging over the kind of creek, And so she saw it, and immediately she didn't want to freak the kids out, but she says, "All right, we got to get going. Who's leading now?" The littlest one said, I'll lead still. The other two were just like, whatever. And they continue on. She said that she had the hardest time listening to her daughters laugh and giggle while internally she's freaking out. There's something over there. She saw it moving. It was just a dark shadow, but she saw it, and she had heard it earlier. And so at this certain point, the trail kind of dog legs back and forth a bit. Just the way whoever initially made the trail. You know, this trail has been there for a long time, according to what she said. So as she's going through these little dog legs, you know, these big S-curves basically in the trail, at one point her youngest daughter got a little ahead of everyone. She yelled at her, you know, scolded her, hey, you don't get out of my sight, you stay. And she was like, I'm just walking, you know. She's like, pay attention, make sure everyone can always see each other. And the middle daughter chimes in, who's that man? Immediately she's like, where? And the daughter points off to their right, and she said, he was over there, he was peeking out from behind those trees over there by the willows. So, of course, she's on point. She goes, all right, girls, hold on. And she's looking off to her right at these willows, and she notices darkness kind of moving back and forth just behind the willows. Like, it was obscured. She couldn't make out exactly what it was, but this isn't bear behavior. So she's like, all right, well, it's probably a bear. Girls, we know what to do with bears. We just keep moving and just talk louder. You know, say, hey, bear, 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 and let's keep going. So the three girls, they chimed in with, hey, bear, bear, bear. And they're just talking out loud, you stay away, you dumb bear, and all this kind of stuff, right? Just being kids. But the whole time, she's keeping an eye, and she just wants the kids out of harm's way from whatever's going on over here, because she's got a sinking feeling. She said she wasn't feeling very good about it at all. She said the fight or flight kicked in at a couple points, and she was like growling at the girls to pick up your pace, because they were kind of lollygagging and kind of dragging feet, you know, just getting tired basically. But she kept ushering them on. Let's go, let's go. They get to a certain point to where they're coming out of the tree line, and it opens up into a small muskeg, and then across that muskeg is another, you know, 150, 200 yards before they get to more familiar grounds, as far as there's going to be some houses and stuff, you know, and closer to home. And so as they get into that clearing, they get about halfway through it, and she has them stop, and she's really looking around. She's talking to them, you know, telling them, look for any berries you may find and this and that. So the little ones are looking for berries on the ground just as a distraction while she looks. And as she's looking, she said she noticed this dark figure in the tree line moving, and it was moving away from them, but it was just inside the trees where you could barely make it out, and then it stopped. And she said it looked like it lowered itself down real low. And at that point, she said, all right, girls, I'm going to fire a shot to scare any bears away, so you guys plug your ears. So they all plugged their ears. And they're, you know, saying, Mom's going to shoot a bear, you know, and stuff like that. And she was just freaked out, but she didn't want to just fire a shot and startle the girls. She brought them into it basically, like, hey, we're going to scare any bears away. Made a game of it to not alert them and make them freak out, right? So they all cover their ears, and she fires a shot in that direction, not directly at this dark shadow that squatted down, but in that direction. She fires a shot, and immediately this thing takes off, screaming, running up over the ridge, right? She said that all four of them, her and her three daughters, were just shocked at how loud, because the shotgun went off, you know. Her ears were slightly ringing from the shotgun. The kids had their hands over their ears. She said this thing was so loud it outdid all of them. She said the scream was horrific. It sounded like just the most hellacious, evil kind of sounding, just high-pitched, wallowing scream. She said it varied in pitch. It was no particular, like, you know, you hear a lot about the woman being murdered kind of scream. She said it was similar to that, but it had this just super screechy, high-pitched, almost like a, you know, an owl shriek or an eagle shriek of some kind. Just, it was real weird. And they heard it and, you know, take off and go over this small ridge. Well, that ridge wraps around, and it kind of drops back down to where once they get across this clearing, when they get back into the trees, the ridge comes and meets the ground over there, right, in the mix of those trees. So it's kind of like a half bowl shape. She said once it cleared the ridge, she was like, all the girls were like, oh my God, that bear was close. You know, they were little, and she didn't correct them. She just let it be. Yeah, that bear is loud. We need to go. We need to get home before the bear comes back. She ushers them on, and she said that once they hit the trail and got over to where that ridge line comes down into the trees, she said it was about 30, 40 feet off the trail, but the trees were not as dense in that area, and you can kind of see where it came down and, met up with the regular, but it came down to their level. She said when they got to that point, the girls were just kind of like, Mom, scared of bear? You know, they're doing this little chant, just being kids, you know. And she said that once they got into that place, she was really looking over at this area, and it so happened where they were looking, it was silhouetted, right? So all they saw was light, and then they saw all the trees and stuff. And as they were looking, she said she noticed a shadow up on the ridge, and it was just kind of moving slow. And she said all you could see was like the upper part of what she made out to be head and shoulders, just on the backside of that ridge, still pacing them, right? She said she about lost it because this thing was obviously not swayed by the shot, startled it, but it's still there, right? So she gets going, gets the girls moving. They get to the first neighbor's house. She has one of the girls go knock on the door. Tell so-and-so to come outside. I need to talk to them. And she's looking around. An elder woman came out and said, so-and-so's not home. They're doing something at the fish wheel. And she said, okay, well, and explains to her, we're being followed. And the elderly lady, she said, immediately said, come inside. Come inside. So they duck inside the lady's house, and she's not that far from home, but she said the feeling she got was imminent danger, and her kids were right there, and she was really freaking out about it. So when they go inside, the elderly lady is like, you guys can't leave. You got to stay here. And she's like, well, no, I'll just wait for the danger to pass or whatever. She goes, it's not going to pass. It's following you. Stay here. Just stay here. And so the elder, she makes some phone calls, and they stayed until another neighbor across the way, an older guy, came on his Honda with the trailer, and the girls hopped in the trailer, and she jumped on the back of the Honda with her shotgun, and this gentleman gave them a ride home. She said while she was sitting there waiting for all this to happen, she didn't want to be rude to the elder because she knew her grandma and all this, tight woven kind of community. And she said that the elderly woman told her, never take that trail again. The hairy man will snatch your daughters. And commenced to telling her a bunch of other stuff. I'm not at liberty to share, unfortunately, but it's, you just never know, man. And again, some people make the mistake of thinking that somehow I'm trying to keep people out of the woods. That's not it at all. I live in the woods. I'm not trying to keep anyone out. Just be aware, man, be aware. Again, this happened approximately about 10 years ago now off the Yukon River. I want to thank Carla for sharing. Man, when people share these experiences with me, because I had plenty of experience in the woods and stuff, and some encounters with these things, it's easier for me to put myself in their shoes. And when I hear moms saying things like I was scared for my kids, it just really gets you. Especially when, women are breaking down crying, talking about, this thing said it wanted me for itself or things of that nature. It's just creepy as hell, man. Be safe in the woods. Watch your kids, man. Don't play yourself cheap. I hear of people going out in the woods unarmed. That's just not good. Not good. If you're scared of guns, learn how to use them. Don't play yourself cheap. Bear spray, what if that bear likes, Thai food? Maybe it likes his food spicy. You just, Anyway, but I want to thank you guys for joining me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else not I could think of offhand. I'm waiting to hear back from the pilot so I could do that part 2. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. But As soon as I hear from him, he's reaching out to the other people that were there, and he's trying to get their side of it and also see if they will be willing to share as well. But we'll see how it plays out. But thank you guys for joining me, and we'll catch you on the next one.